My stomach lurches and my hand flies to my mouth. No, no, this can't be happening. I bolt upright, a nauseating wave of panic washing over me. Where the hell am I? My eyes dart wildly around the room. This isn't my bedroom. The heavy brocade drapes, the giant abstract painting, the lingering scent of a cologne I don't recognize. Frantically, I pull back the silky sheets. I'm naked. A moan escapes me. A mix of horror and sickening realization. What the hell did I do last night? Fragments of the evening swirl back, a sleek black car, Jaden's hand on my thigh, the dizzying whirl of lights at the club. But then, like a reel of film catching fire, the images become blurry and disjointed. My hands clamp over my mouth as another memory surfaces. Shots burning down my throat, a stranger's body pressed close in the pulsing dark, and then, nothing. It hits me like a truck, a blackout. My heart pounds like a frantic drum solo, my breath coming in ragged gasps. How could this happen? Me? Responsible? Married me? My gaze falls on the bedside table, and I freeze. A sliver of something catches the light, just peeking out from beneath a magazine. A watch. A man's watch. Panic transforms into ice water in my veins. Jaden's words come back to me, whispered in the haze of the club. Let's get out of here. Did we? No, surely not, but... I don't even want to finish the thought. My eyes sting with tears, a hot rush of shame flooding through me. I have to get out of here. I scramble for my clothes, the fabric feeling rough and unfamiliar. My phone. Where's my phone? Desperate, I search the room, my mind racing. There are missed calls. Shit, a whole bunch of them. The screen cracks when I fumbled it, mirroring the fractured mess of my life right now. Hands shaking, I unlock it. It's flooded with texts from George, my husband. Each "you okay" and "where are you" is like a knife twisting in my gut. God, what am I going to tell him? How do I face him after this? A fresh wave of panic hits. I start deleting messages, erasing every trace of Jaden's number, wiping the call log. Is this some desperate attempt to make it seem like the night never happened? Like I can just pretend? I slump back on the bed, defeat washing over me. For the first time, the seriousness of this hits home. I'm not just some college kid at a crazy party. I'm a wife. I took an oath, made a promise to George, and I just trampled all over it. How do I even begin to pick up the pieces of what I've done? And worst of all, what if this isn't just a drunken one-night stand? What if this is the start of something that ruins everything? My fingers tremble as I tap out a text to my best friend, Sarah. 911, need emergency wine and bad movie therapy, ASAP. Within minutes, there's a flurry of knocks at the door. Sarah breezes in, a whirlwind of warmth and take-charge energy, a stark contrast to the hollow shell of myself. She doesn't even need to ask what's wrong. My tear-streaked face and crumpled form on the sofa tell their own story. Spill it, she says, not unkindly, handing me a generous glass of Merlot. The words tumble out of me in a messy mix of sobs and self-recrimination. I explain the blackout, the strange room, the watch. Her eyes widen with each horrifying detail. Okay, first, breathe, she commands, taking the empty glass from my shaking hands. And no more wine for you. We need clear heads to tackle this disaster. We comb through my bag, half hoping to find some clue, some magical solution. But there's nothing. No earring, no telltale makeup smudge. The only remnant of the night is a fading bruise on my hip, an ugly reminder of what I can't seem to remember. Sarah's practical side kicks in. First, that watch, she says, holding it up. It's expensive, definitely Jaden's style. My stomach churns. Could be a gift, but more likely left accidentally. Guy's a total player. A spark of dark humor flickers through me. God, and I fell for it like a total amateur. Sarah seems on the same track. We need to find out who this Jaden really is. Do you know anything? Last name? Where he works? Blank. I have nothing, making it all the more menacing. He's this ghost who now holds a piece of me I don't even remember giving up. Time for some social media stalking, Sarah announces, cracking open her laptop. My heart sinks. This feels so wrong, so unlike me, and yet desperate times call for desperate measures. We scroll through profiles, searching for the face that now haunts my dreams. Finally, we find him. Jaden's something or other, a flashy Instagram boasting expensive cars, club selfies, and a whole posse of scantily clad women. But what sends a shiver down my spine is his job. High-powered finance dude. Somehow that makes it worse. I wasn't seduced by some wannabe rock star. I fell for a guy who operates at the same level as George. It makes it all more real, more threatening. What are you going to do? Sarah's voice is gentle now, laced with genuine worry, and that's the worst part. I have no clue. My marriage. My reputation. Everything I've built feels like a house of cards ready to collapse under the weight of this single secret. I wake up from the same nightmare in the cold sweat. Jaden's face looming over me, his laughter echoing as George walks in, the watch glinting in his hand. It's so vivid I can almost smell the stale alcohol and cheap perfume. Mornings are the worst. That brief moment before full consciousness hits, there's blissful ignorance, then reality comes crashing back, the crushing weight of it all settling on my chest like a stone. I force myself out of bed, moving through my morning routine on autopilot. Each brushstroke of makeup feels like another layer of deception. My reflection in the mirror is a haunted stranger, dark circles under my eyes betraying the sleepless nights. George catches me staring at my reflection. You okay? You look tired, he says, his brow furrowed with concern. Lies trip off my tongue with practiced ease. A late night of work, a bad headache, anything but the truth. Yet his worry doesn't fade. Guilt eats away at me. George deserves better than this, better than a wife consumed by a secret too shameful to share. Yet I'm paralyzed by fear. Fear of the consequences, fear of destroying the life we've built, but mostly fear of losing him. The doorbell cuts through the agonizing silence of breakfast. I nearly jump out of my skin. It's a courier delivery, a small, unremarkable package, addressed to me. My stomach turns as I sign for it, the weight of it seeming far heavier than it should. Back inside with trembling hands, I tear open the package. Nestled inside is a jewelry box, sleek and expensive. My heart pounds against my ribs. With a deep breath, I open it. My gasp echoes in the quiet kitchen. It's a diamond necklace, delicate, exquisite, and a perfect match for the watch that haunts my every waking moment. There's no note, no indication of who sent it. Just another chilling reminder that Jaden is out there playing a twisted game only he knows the rules to. A wave of nausea crashes over me. I can't do this. This constant state of terror, the lies piling up. It's suffocating me. Desperation fuels a reckless impulse. I grab my bag, toss in the bare essentials. One look at George's kind, unsuspecting face and my resolve wavers. But then the image of the necklace flashes through my mind. A glittering noose just waiting to be tightened. Before I can overthink it, before doubt consumes me, I slip out the door. There has to be a way out of this mess. And if there is, I have to find it, no matter the cost. My hands shake as I dial the number. I found it buried in Sarah's phone, scrawled on a crumpled napkin after a girls' night out a few years back. A private investigator, she swore by. This feels so absurd, like something out of a bad crime drama. Yet here I am, the sound of the sterile ringing filling the silence of my car. Peterson Investigations, a gruff voice answers. I clear my throat, my voice barely above a whisper. I think I need your help. The next few hours are a blur. I meet him at a nondescript coffee shop, the kind of place where nobody would look twice at two strangers having a hushed conversation. Mr. Peterson is unremarkable, blending into the crowd with his faded jeans and worn-out briefcase. But his eyes are sharp, missing nothing. I tell him everything. The blackout, the watch, the necklace. He listens intently, scribbling notes in a small, leather-bound book. There's no judgment, only a quiet professionalism that's oddly reassuring. Jaden, did you get a last name? He asks, his voice low. Defeat washes over me. Of course I didn't. My mind scrambles through fragmented memories of our conversations, but it's useless. He always just went by Jaden. We brainstorm. He'll comb through social media, use his network of contacts. Maybe someone in the flashy world Jaden inhabits will know something. It's a long shot, but it's better than this oppressive feeling of being hunted. He hands me his card, the ink smudged on the corner. I can't promise miracles, he warns, but sometimes people leave trails you wouldn't expect. I'll keep you updated. As I drive home, a flicker of hope ignites. Maybe this is the first step towards regaining control, but that hope is tinged with a new kind of fear. What if Peterson finds things I don't want to know? What if Jaden is worse than I ever imagined? What if this gamble blows up in my face? The familiar ache of guilt gnaws at me. George is at home, probably setting the table, expecting smiles and light conversation. The thought of walking through that door pretending everything's fine makes my stomach clench. But what's the alternative? Tell him the truth? Destroy everything? A wave of despair crashes over me. I pull over, burying my face in my hands. How did I get here? How did my life turn into this tangled mess of lies and fear? I just wanted to stop, to wake up from this nightmare, but there's no going back. Only forward, into the heart of whatever storm I've unleashed. My hands are still shaking hours later when I unlock my phone in the hotel bathroom. The sterile lights reflect harshly off the tile, making my pale face seem even more gaunt. I don't recognize the woman staring back at me. It started with innocent curiosity. Just to put a face to the name, I told myself, scrolling through Jaden's perfectly curated Instagram feed. There he was, smiling on a yacht at a swanky club opening, surrounded by beautiful women who seemed to hang on his every word. It was like poison. Each image fueled the craving, the twisted desire to feel those hands on me again. To drown in the thrill of the forbidden, shame and disgust warred with a reckless impulse. I sent him a message, just a brief one. Remember me? The chime of his reply jolted me back to reality. It was short, a cocky smirk in pixels. Of course, beautiful. How could I forget? My heart pounded. Part of me wanted to toss my phone across the room, block him, and regain some shred of sanity. The other part, it thrilled at the attention, longed for his validation. The lies to George came easily, a practice script I hated myself for mastering. A sudden work trip, an urgent client meeting in the city? He bought it all, his trust in me a dagger in my gut. The hotel room feels both luxurious and suffocating. Fine silk sheets, plush carpets, none of it matters. I'm not here to enjoy any of it, this is a prison of my own making. Every opulent detail mocking the mess I've become. I pace the room, the watch ticking a deafening countdown in my head. My reflection in the floor-to-ceiling mirror catches my eye. I'm dressed in an outfit that feels completely foreign. Something slinky and revealing, chosen to please him, not myself. Disgust rises in my throat. What am I doing? What kind of monster have I become? George deserves so much better than this. Better than the shell of a wife who sneaks around and craves the touch of another man. Yet I'm frozen, trapped between a desperate desire to escape and the terrifying knowledge that with each step I take, there might be no going back. There's a knock at the door. It's him. Suddenly the fear is all-consuming. This isn't some intoxicating blur fueled by too many drinks. This is a conscious decision, a cold and calculated betrayal. I'm about to detonate the life I've built. All for a thrill that will likely leave me empty, and even more shattered. I wake up on a pile of scratchy blankets, my head pounding. It takes a moment for the fog to clear, and then an icy dread washes over me. This isn't the plush hotel room, it's a warehouse? The same musty smell of old fabric and dust hangs in the air, a sickly echo of that first night with Jaden. Panic surges through me as I scramble to my feet. Clothes are strewn across the concrete floor, mine mixed with Jaden's, a mess of silks and discarded ties. The image sends a wave of nausea through me. How did I let this happen again? Last night is a hazy blur of tequila shots in Jaden's hands roaming my body as the music pulsed through me. Then I remember the flash of a camera. Not a phone camera, something bigger, more professional. My blood runs cold. Had he photographed us? Was this all some twisted blackmail scheme? My mind races, trying to connect the dots of what I can't remember. Suddenly Jaden stirs beside me, sleep rumpled and cocky. "Morning gorgeous," he says, stretching lazily. He seems completely unfazed while I'm on the verge of shattering into a million pieces. "Where are we?" I choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just a little hideaway," he replies, a sly grin spreading across his face. He pats the dusty floor beside him. "Come back to bed." The revulsion is a physical blow. I snatch my clothes and stumble towards the door, barely taking time to dress. "I'm leaving," I say, my voice shaking. But Jaden intercepts me, his grip surprisingly strong. "Not so fast, beautiful. We're not done here." "You're sick," I spit at him. "This is over. Whatever game you're playing, I don't want any part of it." His smile turns predatory. "Oh, I don't think that's up to you anymore," he says, his voice low and menacing. A chill runs down my spine. Suddenly the man who seemed so charming just hours ago feels like a stranger, a dangerous one. I try to shove him away, to force my way through the door, but he doesn't budge. "Let go of me," I scream, fear and desperation clawing at my throat. And then I see it, a flash of metal glinting in his hand. My heart stops. He's holding the watch I thought I had safely hidden. How did he get it? The implications swirl through my mind, a sickening realization dawning on me. Had he been in my house? This wasn't about a casual affair. This was something far more sinister. The shower runs scalding hot, but it does nothing to wash away the grime clinging to my soul. Jaden's touch still burns on my skin, a phantom sensation mingling with the self-loathing coursing through my veins. I scrub at myself until my skin is red and raw as if I can somehow erase the night from existence. Stepping out of the shower, I catch a glimpse of myself in the fogged mirror. My eyes are huge, filled with terror. It's the face of a woman who's lost, who doesn't recognize the person she's become. Where's the happy, confident wife? The woman George fell in love with? She's been replaced by this liar, this destroyer. I slip into jeans and a hoodie, something to hide in. The house is eerily silent. It's just as well I have no words, no excuses left. All the lies are used up, the well dry. Part of me is relieved I don't have to fake a smile and pretend everything's normal. But the other part? It aches, knowing that the sweet comfort of our morning rituals might be gone forever. It's on the kitchen counter that I see it. George's briefcase, something he never forgets. My stomach lurches. Had he come home? Discovered something? Did he leave for good? Fear twists its icy fingers around my heart. Then, nestled beside the briefcase, I see a small box. My name is written on it in George's familiar scrawl. Trembling, I pick it up. It's light, but my breath catches as I lift the lid. Inside, on a bed of satin, is the watch. My stomach drops. It's been polished, the gleaming silver somehow mocking. Has Jaden been here? Did he leave it as a threat, a twisted taunt? My mind races, trying to make sense of the impossible. Panic fuels a desperate search. I tear through the bedroom, dumping out drawers, searching for any sign of intrusion. But there's nothing. No broken lock, no disarray, only the watch sitting innocently, damningly, on the counter. Finally, I collapse on the bed, the watch burning a hole in my pocket. It's only then that I remember the camera flashes from the warehouse, the chilling implications setting in. George has photos, he knows. Suddenly, the front door swings open. George bursts in, eyes wild. He doesn't look angry, just devastated. My heart cracks, mirroring the brokenness reflected in his eyes. We stand there, frozen in a terrible tableau, the truth a yawning chasm between us. I found this at work, he rasps, his voice barely a whisper. He holds up a sleek black envelope. The knock on Jaden's apartment door is heavy, fueled by equal parts desperation and fury. It swings open, revealing his smug grin. For a second, a surge of loathing overpowers the fear twisting in my gut, and I almost punch him in his perfect smirking face. Where is it? I growl, shoving past him into the apartment. He feigns innocence, hands raised, the picture of nonchalance. It makes me want to scream. Where's what, beautiful? You dropped by unannounced. At least let a guy offer you a drink first. His voice drips with sarcasm and something else I can't identify. The watch. I hiss, my control slipping. Stop playing games, Jaden. Give it back. My hands shake as I tear through his apartment. Cushions fly, a lamp nearly gets knocked over. I'm a tornado of panic and rage, the room a swirling blur. It has to be here, he wouldn't dare leave without incriminating evidence. But Jaden just watches, amusement flickering in his eyes. I finally collapse on his couch, defeated. What do you want? I choke out, voice thick with unshed tears. Relax, he says, sinking down beside me, his arms snaking around my shoulder. I recoil, but he holds me fast. You wound so tight, beautiful, no wonder you needed a little escape. The casual intimacy of it sends a shiver down my spine. Don't, I snap, squirming from his grasp. This isn't some game, Jaden. You're going to ruin my life. His smile fades. Maybe, he shrugs, depends on how you play your cards. An icy dread washes over me. This isn't about a watch anymore. This is a threat, cold and calculated. You want money? I try, my voice barely above a whisper. How much? He laughs, a harsh sound that grates against the pristine silence of his apartment. Money's boring, he says, his eyes burning into mine. I want something far more interesting. He leans closer, his voice dropping to a low purr. I want you. Revulsion and fear collide within me. I take a step back, my legs unsteady. This is over, I manage to say. Whatever you thought this was, it's over. Jaden stands, a predatory glint in his eyes. You sure about that? One word from me, one tiny little photo, and your precious little life goes up in flames. That sweet, perfect husband of yours won't be so understanding once he knows about us. My breath catches in my throat. This is beyond blackmail, beyond anything I could have imagined. My hands ball into fists, nails biting into my palms. I need to get out of here, to run as far away as possible. But the photos, the watch, the evidence is a noose around my neck and Jaden is gleefully tightening it. The diamond studs seem to mock me, twinkling innocently beneath the harsh light of the bathroom bulb. They're not mine. I'd never wear anything so understated, so tasteful. My hands tremble as I pick them up, turning them over in my palm. They're beautiful, yes, but a cold reminder of how little George really knows me. Just a little something, he had said with a shy smile when I'd unwrapped them earlier. And I had smiled back, and thanked him, and hated myself more with each passing second of the charade. The lie about the old friend feels heavy on my tongue, the taste of it mingling with the bile rising in my throat. It's a small lie, a white lie, the kind everyone tells. But it's another crack in the foundation of our marriage, another sliver of trust eroded away. Suddenly I can't stand it anymore. I snatch my phone, fingers fumbling over the keys as I compose a text to Sarah. Emergency. Need to talk. ASAP. Within minutes there's the frantic pounding at the door that only means Sarah's brand of support. George is already asleep, bless his trusting heart. I collapse onto the couch the moment she steps inside, tears welling up before I can even begin. She doesn't ask for explanations, just wraps her arms around me. And for a moment, I'm a scared little girl again, seeking refuge from the storm. Between sobs and shuddering breaths, I tell her everything. The blackout, the watch, Jayden's threats, the photo, the earrings. I vomit out all the poison I've been carrying, the relief mingling with the crushing weight of self-disgust. Sarah's face reflects the horror of it all. But when she speaks, her voice is steady. First, she says, handing me a tissue, blow your nose. You sound like a dying walrus. It almost makes me laugh, like a warped echo of the person I used to be. Then, she continues, we strategize. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of fighting back. George deserves the truth, but you don't have to face this alone. A flicker of hope sparks in my chest. Maybe Sarah's right. Maybe fighting back isn't just about saving what's left of my marriage, but about saving myself from the monster I'm becoming. Okay, I whisper, wiping my eyes. But where do we even start? Sarah's eyes glint with determination. Let me worry about Jayden. Your job, she leans in, her voice conspiratorial, is surviving the next 24 hours until I have a plan. And that, she says, squeezing my hand, starts with getting some sleep. You look like hell. I manage a weak smile. For the first time in weeks, the prospect of sleep doesn't bring the specter of nightmares, just the promise of a new dawn. A dawn where maybe I can start rebuilding myself, one shattered shard at a time. The lilies tremble in my hands as I stare at the card. Love, George. An icy spike of fear pierces through the shaky relief I'd felt after my confrontation with Jayden. Of course Jayden wouldn't send flowers. This is far more insidious. A wave of nausea crashes over me. Jayden knows. He knows about the earrings, about George's innocent gift, about my lie. This isn't just a threat. It's a declaration of war. My first instinct is to hide, to shove the accursed flowers in the trash, to pretend it never happened. But that feels childish and futile in the face of the darkness that's encroaching. No, this is a message I need to face head-on. I place the lilies carefully on the kitchen counter, their sickly sweet scent filling the air, the perfect backdrop for the storm brewing in my soul. This is a battleground, and I can't afford to cower. Yet the thought of telling George the truth, of watching the devastation unfold in his eyes, feels like stepping into a firing squad. Minutes turn into hours as I pace the room, a caged animal. The weight of the watch in my pocket feels unbearable, not just the physical object, but the symbol of everything I've shattered. I want to toss it out the window, to hurl it into the sea and pretend it never existed. But I need it. It's my only leverage, the one thing keeping Jayden temporarily at bay. George's footsteps echo as he arrives home, the cheerful jangle of his keys slicing through my terror. The look in his eyes as he spots the lilies crumples my resolve. His smile, so open and trusting as a physical blow. I want to scream, to confess, to beg for forgiveness I don't deserve. But instead, I force a weak smile. They're beautiful, I manage to choke out. He beams, just a little something to brighten your day. The guilt crushes any remaining resistance. It's time. George. I start, my voice barely above a whisper. But then his phone rings. It's just a work call, a minor interruption, but it feels like a stay of execution. The words catch in my throat. Not here, not now. But where? How? I'm out of time. George hangs up, looking concerned. Everything okay? We need to talk. I finally manage, the words heavy in the silence of the kitchen. The lilies loom between us, no longer innocent, but a symbol of betrayal and the terrible confession to come. The diamonds around my neck feel like ice, cold and unforgiving against my burning skin. George's gaze is warm as he clasps the necklace. His touch, gentle. He loves me. He trusts me. And I'm repaying him with the cruelest betrayal imaginable. Every kind word, every smile is another nail in the coffin I'm building for our marriage. The walls seem to close in, the air thick with the lies I'm choking on. I want to rip the necklace off, fling it across the room, scream the truth until my lungs give out. But the terror, the fear of losing everything paralyzes me. George heads into the kitchen to grab us drinks, leaving me alone at the vanity. His reflection in the mirror catches my eye. He's oblivious, happy in the carefully constructed world I've built. A world balanced on the thinnest of threads. My own reflection is barely recognizable, a pale, haunted mask. You look beautiful, George says as he re-enters, handing me a glass of wine. My stomach churns. Did you have a good day at work, sweetheart? It's a loaded question, an invitation to more lies or a chance to come clean. My voice cracks as I try to respond. Fine, tiring. That night, as George sleeps soundly beside me, I lie awake, my pulse pounding in my ears, my phone buzzes on the nightstand, caller ID unknown, my heart lurches. Is this it, the final blow? With trembling hands, I answer. It's Sarah, her voice is tight with worry. Are you okay? Has he done anything? Not yet, I whisper back, my voice barely audible. But he knows. He knows about the earrings. Sarah's sharp intake of breath echoes my own horror. How, she hisses. He sent me flowers, Sarah, lilies. The absurdity of it all chokes out a desperate laugh. That's sick. Sarah starts, then trails off. Listen, I've got a plan, but we need to move fast. I cling to her words like a lifeline, a flicker of hope piercing through the suffocating dread. Sarah, with her fierce practicality and unwavering support, is my only anchor in this storm. Tell me, I say, my voice gaining a semblance of strength. What do we do? Sarah's plan is audacious, risky, and quite possibly insane. But in the warped space I'm currently inhabiting, insane feels like the only option. My hands tremble as I fasten the earring, my gaze fixed on the warped reflection in the mirror. Is this what I've become? A hollowed-out shell of the woman George loves? A woman capable of such monstrous betrayal? Ready? George's voice jolts me back to the present, his smile genuine and blinding. He's standing in the doorway, looking impossibly handsome in his tailored suit. Almost, I squeak out, a desperate attempt to buy myself a few more seconds. But there's no escaping this. Every moment I delay the inevitable is another blow to my already fractured soul. We arrive at the restaurant, the one where we shared our first date, where he proposed, where countless happy memories were forged. The irony is a cruel, bitter pill to swallow. George orders champagne, his eyes twinkling with affection. Yet every touch, every adoring look feels like a hot brand on my skin. With each forced smile, I chip away at the pedestal he's placed me on. I am no queen, merely a usurper in a kingdom built on deceit. Dessert arrives, my favorite creme brulee, the flame flickering like a warning. But just as I raise my spoon, the world tilts on its axis. A murmur ripples through the crowd, necks craning, eyes glued to the entrance. It's him. Jaden saunters in, his gaze landing on our table with a predatory gleam. My heart thuds against my ribs so violently it threatens to crack. He cuts a path through the astonished diners, that sickening smirk widening with each step. Game over. Happy birthday, beautiful, he draws, extending his hand towards me. In it, glinting under the soft chandelier light, is the silver watch. It ticks like a time bomb, each second counting down to the final detonation. Who is this? George stammers, his eyes flashing between me and Jaden in horror. My voice fails me. This is it, the executioner has arrived and I've handed him the axe. There's no escape, only the agonizing truth spilling forth in a torrent of desperate broken words. The affair, the lies, Jaden's blackmail. It all pours out of me, a twisted confession echoing through the stunned silence of the restaurant. George's face transforms, the love in his eyes replaced by a coldness I've never seen before, never imagined I deserved. Each agonizing revelation hardens his expression further. The man I knew, the man I loved, shatters with each syllable. When the last damning word leaves my lips, he stands. His voice, usually so warm, is now a chilling whisper. Don't come back. He turns and walks away, his retreating figure a stark silhouette against the brightly lit restaurant. My world implodes in slow motion. The concerned stares from onlookers feel like physical blows. All I've built, all I cherish, lies in ruins at my feet. I am the architect of my own destruction, and there's no salvaging even a single scrap from the wreckage I've made of my life. My fingers tremble as I tape the last box shut. It's a small battered suitcase, the remnants of a life once overflowing with joy and love. Now it holds only the essential scraps of a fragmented existence. All I can carry with me as I run from the wreckage of my choices, from the echoes of George's name mixed with those of disgust and betrayal. The new city greets me with indifference, a stark contrast to the small-town grapevine I've escaped. I find a dingy apartment the color of stale bread and a job waiting tables at a diner where tired truckers and lonely locals drown their sorrows in watery coffee. My days become a monotonous rhythm of orders scribbled, plates cleared, and forced smiles for meager tips. Loneliness is a constant companion. Even surrounded by strangers, I carry the weight of my secrets like an invisible cloak. I avoid forming bonds, terrified of the destruction I'm capable of and the fragility of trust I've broken. Time crawls past, marked not by celebrations but the anniversaries of pain. The day the watch first appeared, the night of the restaurant, George's birthday. Each date cuts like a fresh wound. A stark reminder of all I've forfeited. In the dead of night, when sleep evades me, memories flicker like a twisted film reel. George's soft laughter, the way his eyes crinkled with joy, the warmth of his hand in mine, all of it reduced to ashes by my own doing. I wonder, with a bitterness that chokes me, was it worth it? Those fleeting nights of stolen pleasure, the reckless thrill of living a lie, my soul answers with a resounding, crushing no. News of George reaches me like shrapnel from a distant war. Sarah, bless her steadfast heart, sends a carefully worded letter. He's moved on, remarried, even has a child. A sharp stab of mingled jealousy and shame pierces me. That life, that happiness, was meant to be mine. I squandered it and now it blossoms for another as it should. Remorse is my penance. I don't ask for absolution. I know I'm beyond it. Instead, I cling to the faintest flicker of hope that amidst the ruins there might be a chance for redemption. I force myself to volunteer at a local shelter. Fill endless job applications. Take tentative steps towards a sliver of light. Maybe, just maybe, I can become worthy of a second chance. Not with George, but with myself. To look in the mirror and not despise the woman staring back. The road ahead is long and uncertain. But for the first time, I see the faintest outline of a path. A path built not on lies and betrayal, but the painful lessons learned in the hope that someday, the weight crushing my soul might ease. I never thought I'd be the woman scrolling through her husband's emails at 2 a.m., heart hammering in my chest like a jackhammer. But here I was, living a cliché I'd mocked in countless movies. Our marriage, once the envy of my Instagram followers, now felt like a meticulously curated lie. It started with the late nights. Big project at the office, he'd say, his words a rehearsed script I'd learned to dread. I wanted to believe him, truly I did. But the perfume lingering on his suits wasn't mine, and the hastily deleted texts raised questions he dismissed with a wave of his hand. "You're imagining things, babe," he'd chuckle, turning away to hide the guilt I was sure flickered in his eyes. Then came the night I stumbled upon the truth, a forgotten email left open on our shared laptop, words that felt like a punch to the gut. "Can't wait for our weekend getaway. Love, Emily." Emily, the name burned in my brain, a neon sign pointing to my unraveling life. I confronted him, the email printed out and clutched in my shaking hands. "Who was Emily?" I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. He glanced at the paper, then at me, his face an emotionless mask. "You're being paranoid," he said, the denial swift and cold. "It's just a work thing. You're reading too much into it." But I knew better. The lies wrapped around us like chains, suffocating the trust we'd built over years. His denial was the final blow, the evidence of betrayal too glaring to ignore. I was alone, my pain invisible to the man I'd shared my life with. Revenge became my solace, a dark whisper urging me on. Direct confrontation? No, too easy, too clean. I wanted him to feel the slow burn of loss, to watch his empire crumble piece by piece. It was petty, perhaps, but the thought of undermining his business, his pride, gave me a perverse sense of satisfaction. I started small, leaking company secrets to competitors through an anonymous email account. Each act of sabotage was a balm to my wounded heart, a way to reclaim some semblance of control. I watched from the shadows as he scrambled to contain the fallout, unaware that his downfall was orchestrated by the woman he'd vowed to cherish. As I plotted my next move, I couldn't help but marvel at the irony. The perfect wife, the perfect life, all a facade. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, one that would sweep away the lies and reveal the truth in its wake. This chapter of my life was far from over. The game had just begun, and I was playing for keeps. It started with a whisper in the dark, the kind that snakes into your brain and festers. My life, once a parade of luxury and smiling selfies, had turned into a battleground. And me? I became the unseen warrior, wielding secrets instead of swords. The first act of rebellion was subtle, a nudge rather than a shove. I leaked bits of sensitive data to a competitor, masked behind layers of anonymity. Watching the minor scandal erupt was like the first taste of revenge, bittersweet and addictive. It was just a dip in the company's stock, but oh, how it made my heart race. But the real game changer came when I dug a little deeper into her, the mistress. She wasn't just any fling, she was the daughter of his fiercest business rival. The irony was too delicious, the betrayal too deep. It wasn't just my bed he'd shared, he'd conspired with the enemy. Fueled by this new revelation, I sought an ally, someone as scorned by him as I was. It didn't take long to find a disgruntled former employee, eager to spill every secret for a slice of vengeance. Together, we orchestrated a masterful strike, a security breach that bled his company dry. Watching from the shadows, I reveled in the chaos, an unseen puppeteer pulling at the strings. But he wasn't clueless. The suspicion in his eyes grew, a storm brewing in the silence of our home. "Something's amiss," he'd mutter, poring over reports and emails. Yet, he never suspected me, his perfect wife, now the architect of his downfall. Then came the confrontation I hadn't anticipated. She, the mistress, stepped into the light, all venom and vanity. "You won't do a thing," she sneered, believing I was too wrapped up in my facade to fight back. Oh, how wrong she was. But I held my tongue, letting her believe she had the upper hand. Amidst this tangled web of deceit and revenge, an unexpected player re-entered the stage, someone from a past life I thought was long buried. He appeared out of nowhere, a ghost from my past with a gift, information. He knew the intimate details of their betrayal, the kind that could turn the tide in my favor. This man, once thought lost to me, became the key to my next move. Armed with his insights, I prepared to strike again, this time aiming for a blow that would leave no room for recovery. He whispered of hidden accounts, of plans made in the dark. With each word, the path became clearer, and my resolve hardened. As I moved through this dance of shadows, plotting my next move, I couldn't help but marvel at the transformation. I was no longer the woman who flaunted her perfect life on social media. I had become the storm, brewing beneath a calm surface, ready to unleash chaos on the world that had wronged me. Yet, in the quiet moments before dawn, doubts would creep in. Was I becoming the monster I sought to destroy? No, I'd shake off the thought. This was justice, served cold and calculated. As the sun rose, casting light on the facade of our lives, I knew the endgame was near. The board was set, the pieces in motion. And I, the queen in this game of chess, would deliver the checkmate, no matter the cost. In the game of chess that had become my life, I never imagined being outmaneuvered in such a stunning fashion. It all started when the ghost from my past, a figure I'd once loved and lost, re-emerged with a revelation that turned my blood to ice. He whispered of a coup, a silent takeover orchestrated through sheets and whispers, positioning me as the unwitting queen in a game rigged from the start. With this newfound knowledge, I crafted my most daring move yet, a scheme designed to shatter my husband's pristine reputation. It was a calculated play, leaking scandalous details of his company's inner workings to the press. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic, a public relations nightmare that painted him not as the business savant he claimed to be, but as a conniving snake, slithering through the corridors of power. But betrayal, it seems, is a double-edged sword. The ally I had trusted, the disgruntled former employee who had fed me secrets in whispered shadows, turned against me. For a handful of silver, he sold me out, laying bare my machinations to the one person I had sought to destroy. My husband, now aware of my betrayal, launched a counter-offensive that was as brutal as it was swift. Legal papers arrived like arrows, each one piercing the armor I had built around myself. He aimed to strip me of everything, my dignity, my assets, even the very roof over my head. In desperation, I escalated the conflict, unveiling his affair to the world in a last-ditch effort to sway the court of public opinion in my favor. I thought it would be my checkmate. The showdown came unexpectedly, in the cold, sterile environment of a lawyer's office. There, my husband sat across from me, an unreadable mask concealing his thoughts. With a calmness that chilled my soul, he revealed his hand. He had known about my actions all along, each move I made anticipated and countered in the shadows. He had set traps, laying out a breadcrumb trail of false information for me to follow, leading me into a snare of my own making. As he spoke, the final blow was delivered, a document signed and sealed, granting him full ownership of the company. My efforts to secure a financial lifeline through our divorce were obliterated in an instant. I had played into his hands, and now, I was left with nothing. The room spun around me as the magnitude of my failure sank in. The chessboard was clear, and I had lost. My gambit, my desperate play for revenge, had been anticipated and outmatched at every turn. The man I had vowed to spend my life with had become my greatest adversary, outplaying me in a game I thought I controlled. In the silence that followed, I realized the cost of my vengeance. I had sought to destroy him, to make him feel the pain of betrayal as acutely as I had. Instead, I found myself cornered, defeated not by his actions but by my own. The realization was a bitter pill, a lesson learned in the harshest of ways. As I left the lawyer's office, the world outside seemed different, colder, less forgiving. The battle was over, and though I walked away with my freedom, it was a hollow victory. I had lost more than assets and a marriage. I had lost a part of myself, consumed by hatred and revenge. The climax of my story wasn't one of triumph, but of profound loss. As I stepped into the uncertain future, I carried with me the weight of my choices, a reminder of the cost of vengeance and the price of a heart turned cold. I never thought I'd see the day when my world, once adorned with love and luxury, would crumble into dust. But here I was, standing amidst the ruins of a life I had meticulously built, only to tear down with my own hands. The final chapters of my tale unfolded with the swiftness of a storm, leaving me battered and alone in its wake. The mistress, once a shadow in our marriage, faced the harsh light of exposure. With a few well-placed words and undeniable evidence, I watched her fall from grace, her social stature and professional life dissolving like sugar in rain. It was a victory, hollow and bitter, for in her downfall, I saw not the face of my enemy but a mirror reflecting my own shattered morals. But the true final blow was yet to come. My husband, ever the strategist, slipped through my fingers like smoke, leaving the country with his fortune intact. I was left grappling with the aftermath, a public spectacle of humiliation and legal battles that promised to strip me of the little dignity I had left. In that darkest hour, the ghost from my past reappeared, offering me a lifeline, a chance at redemption. His words were tempting, hinting at a game far greater than the petty vendettas that had consumed me. But as I stood on the precipice, peering into the abyss of my own making, a clarity, sharp and unforgiving, pierced my veil of vengeance. The cycle of revenge, a relentless maelstrom, had brought me nothing but ruin. In rejecting his offer, I chose to face the consequences of my actions alone, a decision that carried the weight of my regrets. The aftermath was a relentless storm. Legal battles loomed like specters, their shadows casting long and dark over my future. Society, once my playground, turned its back on me, their whispers a constant reminder of the fall from grace I had endured. And as I navigated this new reality, a solitary figure amidst the chaos, I couldn't help but reflect on the path that had led me here. There was no introspection, no solace in understanding, only the bitter taste of my choices, lingering on my tongue. Amidst the ruins, the rival, the father of the mistress, emerged victorious. His empire expanded, fed by the turmoil I had unwittingly helped sow. It was a cruel irony, the architect of my downfall benefiting from the ashes of my war. As the dust settled, I found myself standing at the edge of a precipice, peering into the void of a future uncertain and scarred. The quest for revenge had stripped me of everything, my dignity, my love, and my self-respect. Left alone to bear the weight of my actions, I realized the cost of my vengeance was far greater than I could have ever imagined. In this new world, barren and cold, I learned the hardest lesson of all. The price of revenge is paid not in the downfall of our enemies, but in the loss of ourselves. And as I faced the long road ahead, a path marked by legal battles and societal disdain, I carried with me the weight of my choices, a constant reminder of the ruin wrought by my own hands. The story of my downfall is a cautionary tale, a whisper in the wind to those who tread the path of vengeance. For in the end, the greatest battles are fought not against others but within ourselves, a war where the only true defeat is the loss of who we are. The moment I saw my once adored social media profiles turn into battlegrounds of vilification, I knew the world I had built was crumbling. Each notification was a jab, a reminder of how quickly adoration could turn to scorn. Friends who once envied my seemingly perfect life now led the charge in tearing it apart. It was a digital witch hunt. Each comment and share another stone thrown at my glasshouse of lies. Then came the knock that sealed my fate, the legal notice of asset seizure. My beautiful home, my car, even my personal belongings, were to be stripped away as part of the settlement. I was left with nothing but a modest apartment, a stark, unfurnished space that echoed with the ghosts of my past life. Isolation became my new normal. The vibrant social life I once led, the endless invitations and gatherings, all evaporated. I was a pariah, ostracized by the society that once held me on a pedestal. The silence of my new apartment was deafening, a constant reminder of the cost of my vengeance. In the midst of my desolation, she reached out, the mistress. Her plea for reconciliation was draped in claims of victimhood, as if she too had been wronged by the narrative. But I saw through her act. Her words were empty, a last-ditch effort to salvage her own reputation. My rejection was cold, final. There was no room for forgiveness, not for her. As for my husband, he became a ghost, his whereabouts a mystery that consumed the gossip columns. Rumors swirled, each more outlandish than the last, but none led to him. It was as if he had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the chaos he helped create. Then came the leak, an anonymous tip to the press painting me as the architect of a grand conspiracy. It was ludicrous, yet in the absence of truth, fiction flourished. My name was dragged through the mud once more, a narrative crafted without my input, sealing my infamy. But amidst the noise, a glimmer of truth emerged. Cryptic messages began to find their way to me, each one a piece of the puzzle that was my husband's true nature. The man I thought I knew, the one I vowed to spend my life with, was a stranger. His dealings, once hidden in the shadows, began to come to light, revealing a web of deceit far more complex than I had imagined. Each revelation was a knife, cutting away the remnants of the life I thought we shared. I was left questioning everything, the foundation of our marriage, the man I loved, and the choices that led me to this point. The unraveling of these mysteries was not a path to redemption but a further descent into the abyss. In the solitude of my new reality, I confronted the consequences of my actions. My quest for revenge, once a fire that fueled me, had consumed everything I held dear. The cost was not just my material possessions or social standing, but my inner peace, my sense of self. The social media fallout, the asset seizure, the isolation, all of it was a price I paid for a war one waged with vengeance as my ally. The mistress's plea, my husband's disappearance, the leak, all were but chapters in a saga that I had authored, yet no longer controlled. As I sifted through the cryptic clues of my husband's true dealings, I realized the enormity of the web I was entangled in. It was a stark reminder that the man I sought to punish through my schemes was far more cunning and dangerous than the one I had married. This chapter of my life, written in isolation and betrayal, was a testament to the folly of vengeance. The mysteries I unraveled only served to deepen the wounds, a cruel irony in a tale where I sought to be the author of my own justice, only to become the architect of my downfall. In the shadow of my former life, amidst the rubble of a world I once commanded, hope flickered like a candle in the wind, fueled by whispers of support from corners I never expected. It was the kindness of strangers, those touched by the spectacle of my downfall, that offered a flicker of light in the pervasive darkness. They came with words of encouragement, small acts of generosity that felt monumental in my sea of desolation. Their support was a balm to the soul, a reminder that even in the darkest times, humanity can shine brightly. Amidst this unexpected support, a glimmer of hope emerged from the ashes of my defeat. I stumbled upon whispers of hidden assets, a secret stash my husband had cleverly concealed. It was a chance, however slim, for financial recovery, for a way out of the destitution that had become my constant companion. The hunt for these assets became my new purpose, a quest fraught with danger and uncertainty but driven by a desperate need to reclaim a semblance of the life I had lost. The chase led me down a rabbit hole of legal and moral complexities, each step forward fraught with the risk of stepping into one of the many traps my past actions had set. It was a game of cat and mouse, with me as the prey, navigating a labyrinth designed to ensnare me at every turn. Yet, with each careful step, I moved closer to the treasure I sought, driven by the sliver of hope that it represented. But hope, it seems, is a double-edged sword. My pursuit caught the attention of law enforcement, leading to a tense encounter that tested the limits of my resolve. There, under the scrutinizing gaze of the law, I stood on the precipice, my every action weighed and judged. It was a stark reminder of the precarious position I found myself in, a consequence of the path I had chosen to walk amidst this tumultuous journey. A revelation came to light that cast my husband's new venture in a damning glow. Unethical practices, the foundation upon which his success was built, offered me a moral high ground I had long abandoned. It was an opportunity, a chance to fight back not with vengeance but with justice, to expose the corruption that lay at the heart of his empire. Emboldened by this revelation, I crafted a new scheme, a covert strategy designed to undermine his illicit activities. Learning from the mistakes of my past, I aimed not for revenge but for justice, a distinction that had once eluded me. This plan, carefully orchestrated and executed with precision, was my chance to make amends, to fight back against the injustices that had been wrought. Yet, as with all things in this twisted saga, success was not guaranteed. My first attempt to implement this new scheme backfired spectacularly, a stark reminder of the complexities of battling an enemy who remained shrouded in shadows. It was a blow, not just to my plans but to the fragile hope that had begun to take root within me. The failure served as a bitter lesson, a testament to the difficulties of navigating a battlefield where the lines between friend and foe, right and wrong, were blurred beyond recognition. In this chapter of my life, I found myself walking a tightrope, balancing between the desire for redemption and the reality of my situation. Each step forward was a gamble, each plan a leap of faith in the face of overwhelming odds. Yet, despite the setbacks, the support of those few who believed in me, and the slim chance of uncovering the truth, propelled me forward. It was a journey not just of external battles but of internal reflection, a quest not only for justice but for a redemption that seemed just out of reach. The day began with a foreboding whisper, a message slid under my door by hands unseen, chilling in its brevity: stop now, or face the consequences. It was a warning, stark and devoid of any signature, yet its origin was clear as day. My husband's benefactor, a shadowy figure pulling strings from the dark, had marked me. My heart raced, fear mingling with defiance, but reality's cold grasp began to tighten around me. It was a moment of reckoning, the first real acknowledgement of the peril my vendetta had courted. I found myself at a crossroads, the warning echoing in my mind, a grim reminder of the powerful forces aligned against me. The risk wasn't just to myself anymore. It was a maelstrom threatening to engulf everyone I had unwittingly dragged into my crusade. With a heavy heart, I chose to step back, to retreat into the shadows and reassess my strategy. It was a reluctant withdrawal, spurred not by cowardice but by the instinct to survive, to fight another day. In this period of enforced quietude, I delved deeper than ever before into the morass of my husband's dealings. What I uncovered was a web of corruption so pervasive, so entwined with the echelons of power, that it took my breath away. My husband's business wasn't just unethical, it was criminal, a pillar of a much larger edifice of corruption that reached into the highest corridors of influence. The realization was a gut punch, a visceral affirmation of the path I had chosen, despite the dangers it courted. Driven by a desperate need to act, to not let this revelation lie dormant, I made a decision that would alter the course of my battle. I turned to the public, to the power of the masses, leaking everything I had discovered about the corruption festering at the heart of my husband's empire. It was a plea for justice, a clarion call to those who still believed in right and wrong. The documents spread like wildfire, a beacon of truth in a world shrouded in deceit. But the backlash was immediate and ferocious. Threats poured in, dark and venomous, a tidal wave of hatred aimed at silencing me. It was a stark reminder of the influence my husband wielded, a force capable of warping reality to its will. The public, swayed by the machinations of his PR machine, turned against me, painting me as the villain in a narrative I had sought to expose. Cornered and vilified, I was left with nothing but a final, desperate gambit. I decided to risk everything on one last move, a plan to expose my husband's corruption in a way that could not be ignored or twisted by his influence. It was a complex operation, targeting a public event where the evidence would be laid bare for all to see, undeniable and damning. The day of execution arrived, a maelstrom of nerves and anticipation. Everything was in place, every contingency accounted for, or so I thought. As the operation unfolded, a sense of triumph began to swell within me, a belief that justice might finally prevail. But in the moment of my greatest hope, the unthinkable happened. Betrayal, sharp and unexpected, cut through my plans like a knife. An insider, someone I had trusted implicitly, turned against me, leading to my arrest in the midst of the operation. It was a stunning reversal, a blow that shattered my world into fragments of despair. As I sit in my cell, the weight of my choices bears down on me with suffocating force. Reflection and regret are my constant companions, haunting me with the question of what might have been had I chosen a different path. My story, once a tale of love and betrayal, has become a cautionary saga of revenge and its consuming flames. The path I embarked upon, driven by a thirst for vengeance, has led me here, to this moment of utter downfall. The cost of my vendetta, measured in lost love, shattered lives, and a future irrevocably altered, is a burden I will carry forever. In the silence of my cell, I confront the reality that my pursuit of justice, however well-intentioned, was marred by the same corruption I sought to expose. It is a bitter pill, a lesson learned too late, leaving me to face a grim and uncertain future, a cautionary tale of what happens when revenge becomes the guiding